Well, hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. I am Deborah and it is so good to be with you for another chance to just sit and talk about creativity, crafting, books, and a few other things that we all share as hobbies. Um, I don't know about you, but I have had a busy couple of weeks. This is one of the busy times of year for me at work and a few other aspects, and so it is so good to be able to come home at the end of the day and sit and relax and think about something else, turn my brain off, and find some quiet in other activities. Um, and it is just starting to, here in Connecticut, spring is just starting to sprung. It's turning into spring. I was looking out in the yard the other day and I saw that the daylilies are peeping out, and I've got a whole, I wouldn't say a mountainside, but I'm starting to get a little cascade of snowdrops up on the upper hill, and so you can tell that spring is coming. I'm wearing a heavy sweater, but in the morning, definitely something I needed in my office, which is overheated at this as things are at this time of year. I was thinking, kind of regret this decision, but oh well. Um, what else? I have been out of town for a couple of days. I went down to DC for a work visit, which was mostly just meetings, but I did get a little bit of a chance to do some exploring. I was able to have dinner at Jaleo, which is one of my favorite restaurants. I go there kind of anytime I'm in DC, so I was able to enjoy that. And I was able to go and visit the Folger Shakespeare Library. Um, I have been there before. I saw a performance there 20 years ago, but have not been back the last couple of years. They have been closed for a major renovation for about 4 years, and so I was able to go one evening and I got to go and visit the exhibits. I got to see all 82 first folios that they have. It's the world's largest collection of first folios available anywhere, and so I got to go and take a look at those, look at the exhibits, and then I saw a performance. There was a play called A Room in the Castle, and it was a take on Hamlet from the perspective of Ophelia and the Queen, and kind of Ophelia's maid, and kind of what the activities of the play are impacting them. So really great performance. I had really wonderful evening, get a chance to do that. So, but I was also very happy to be home. It was good to be back with the kitties and all kinds of things. So, good to leave home, good to come home, right? Let's see what else. I've also been working in my basement. I've mentioned that I'm trying to work on kind of making it a little more cozy of a space for being an unfinished basement. Put together a bunch of shelves, and so I now have some display area plus some extra storage. All of the sort of things that you want to tuck away or tucked away under the doors. And then I also have a nice kind of a couple of glass sections that you can see, and so I put all of my Legos there. So for the first time, pretty much all of my Legos are together on display. Even sets that I hadn't seen in a very long time have been out. So it's just kind of fun to be able to walk down there now and see that and get to kind of appreciate the fact that all of these things are there. So doing all of that kind of stuff. But anyway, you're probably here to not listen to me talk about my basement and my snowdrops, but here to listen to kind of see some examples of some crafting and other creativity that we've been experiencing the last couple of weeks. So I will jump right in on that. The first thing I have to show you is a little bit of cross stitch, and I have started and finished a piece since we were last together. You know me, I do small, so it's not like it's a big piece, but I did start and finish it. And that is from this Gather Pinecone series by Hands On Design. This is the Gather Round series. It was originally released as a club kit, and then it has been released over the last year or so, this whole series. So it's a series of 4 seasonal pieces, each of them with this kind of there'll be some quilting motif, some house motif or a building motif, and then something in the center that says gather something or another. And so I have been stitching the quilting and home pieces for display, and this is my last of the series. So it's really good to start seeing the end of that series come together. And I know that it is still technically winter and I am a seasonal stitcher, but I think what I have decided, you know what, let me show you this, but I will talk about the fact that I think I'm going to try and not be a seasonal stitcher this year because I'm really hoping to get some whips done. But let me show you the piece first. So here is my finish on the piece, and this is quilted pine cones. And this one, I have to say, I think the winter piece set in the series is my favorite. I just really love those colors, the beautiful blue and red and greens, and the pine cones and that fun little cardinal there. So sorry I didn't get my ironing done this time, but I really enjoyed stitching this piece. They're I find them to be very quick pieces, so something that you can take care of in just a stitching session or two. And so at this point, I've got one left, and then I will get those wrapped up just in time to put up the spring ones on display. So I am using all of the called for colors. These are all DMC. I'm also using the called for fabric, which is I think it's a 32 count Belfast kind of general basic linen, but really fun. So I am happy to have that. And it's really nice, like I said, to see the end of the series in sight. I really do enjoy stitching seasonally. I really like changing out. I've really gravitated toward having these things in which you're just switching something out occasionally. And so it's related, but it's something new every month or every couple of months. But like I said, I think despite the fact that I am primarily a seasonal stitcher, I think this year I may try and buck against that myself, because I'm really feeling the pull to just get my active whips done. I don't have a huge amount. I think it's only 10 or 12 maybe, and kind of getting less as we continue on. But I really like the idea of clearing the decks, getting a clean slate in terms of projects. And so even if it's going to mean working on things out of season or not always necessarily something that I would naturally pick up, um, I really like that the anticipation of having them done, feeling I can check a couple of things off the list, and then that means that when I starting pieces again, I'm thinking I'm probably going to be a little more um, planned in what I do, because I've reached a point, I think I've talked about this before, I'm kind of running out of wall space. I'm kind of running out of display space, or if I'm not, I have kind of some limited things. And so I'm thinking more about how can I have displays that are rotating and changing. So even if the space is still the same, the pieces that are on display are different. And so that means maybe thinking about what will finish in a frame that I already have, or in an area that I already have, or is a circle, or that's going to fit this particular space. And so it's not just picking up a piece because I happen to really want to stitch that piece when I have no plans for what I'm going to do with it, but what can I stitch to deliberately fill a certain space or a certain role? Um, Obviously, who knows? At some point, something will just sort of hit me, and I'll start making all kinds of, doing all kinds of starts again. But I think that I've reached a point, or I'm feeling like I'm at a point where I can do a little bit more deliberate planning in some of my stitching. So, like with the piece that I just showed you, I already have the display space. I have all the other seasons done, so it'll be something that's out all the time, and I can just swap them out. And I get that pleasure of bringing them out with each new season too. So last year I did this ABC series, and I really enjoy when it comes time to swap things out and get to see those pieces again. And I don't get tired of them or I don't ignore them because I've seen them all the time. I get that refreshment that comes every so often. I think that's been something I've been really enjoying. In terms of stitching, that was the only stitching I've done over the last 2 weeks, but I do have this here to remind myself. I have made a little bit of progress on my whip. This is my oldest whip that I have decided is going to get done this year, and I have mentioned that I've been doing a little bit of planning in terms of how to finish it. I'm only going to be finishing about half of the wreath in the end. So what I've done as part of the last couple of weeks is I've pulled out my working copy, and I've figured out I've actually marked on the pattern what I have completed and what I still have to stitch. So I know if I need to, I can break it down into smaller pieces, but I was really pleasantly surprised once I sat down and did that. When I look at the pattern now, I don't think there's that much still to do. Obviously, I've cut off a significant portion of what I'm stitching, but based on what I have done and what is left for my plans, it's not as daunting as I thought it might be. So I'm really looking forward to pulling that out and making that an active whip again. I'm getting very close. I think what I'm planning to do, the couple of things I want to do in the next couple of weeks is I'd really like to get the rest of the Gather Round series done. That one is not going to take very long. And then it is already March, and so I need to work on my April monthly marker. So I've got my March one up, fully finished and on display, but I do want to have the April piece finished and ready to go on the wall. So that needs to happen in the next couple of weeks. So those are probably my major priorities right at the moment, just to kind of get them done. But once that's done, this I think is going to become a focus piece in my stitching as well. So that will be on in videos moving forward very quickly. I also, still on kind of the stitching topic, I received some really fun stitchy kindness just yesterday. I was checking the mail, and of course most of the time I just get bills and things like that these days, but I had a packet or a little envelope, and it was from Rhonda. Rhonda is such a wonderful and faithful viewer, and she sends always such kind comments on my videos, and she sent me this wonderful card. I think it's handmade. And then inside, she sent me a little needle minder. And I love that. It's just that pot of gold from Primrose Stitches. So it's fantastic quality. And so I am excited. I wanted to show it to you all since I just got it, but then I'm going to have to, I was like, I'm going to have to pull out one of my whips and reassign the needle minder. You know, that's an important part of the process. All right, the other thing that is stitching related or cross-stitching related that I have to show you is I want to do a giveaway this video. We haven't done one of those, I think, since before the holidays, so I thought it was time to bring something back. And I figured that since I am very focused on finishing up one of my seasonal pieces and I'm doing a new monthly marker series, I wanted to pass along this series, and this is the Square Dance series by Heart and Hand. And it's 4 charts that include all 12 months, and it does have the embellishments. These are charts that there we go. I picked these up a couple of years ago in my flurry of buying charts when I got back into cross stitch, and I've decided that I'm probably not going to stitch the entire series as a monthly marker series. I've kind of gone in another direction on that, but that means this is something that hopefully another viewer will get to enjoy and stitch up. I have always loved that April one, has always been one that I really loved in particular. The chickens are fantastic for September. I mean, there are some good little charts in here. That December one, I love all of those little baubles. I mean, you don't have to put the name of the month in there, but I think it works. So if you are interested in being the recipient of all 4 of these charts, for this one, why don't we use the numerals 12, since there are 12 charts. So standard kind of giveaway rules, etc. apply. Please don't use the word giveaway, win, any of those kinds of things in the comments, because we don't really want to be attracting the negative parts of some of the YouTube environment. I also have a Pen Pals form. So in the description box below, it's just a little Google form. You have to fill out your name, address, and email address. That way I already have the information to send to you when we do the drawing. So please fill out the Pen Pals form, and in your comment below, please use the numerals 12, 1, 2, somewhere in your comment, and you'll be entered into that giveaway. I typically film on Wednesday nights with the videos going up on Friday. So today is Wednesday the 12th. This will go up Friday the 14th. So 2 Wednesdays from tonight. Just have your entry in by then, and I will pull that before the next video, and we'll go on from there. So good luck, and I hope that I'm looking forward to somebody stitching those, because I think it's a great little series. All right, moving slightly on from cross-stitching, but staying in the stitching realm, I wanted to show you a piece that I stitched quite a long time ago, but as part of my kind of reorganization process in the basement, one of the things that I did is I pulled out all of the stuff that I have accumulated to do finishing with, and so I've got frames, I've got objects that you can mount things on, I've got all kinds of little stuff that I've picked up in the future. And one of the things that I came across is a piece that I stitched. This is a needlepoint piece that I stitched many years ago. It was a kit, I think a dimensions kit. If it matters, I will try and figure it out. But it's kind of it is a needlepoint kit of these pansies that I stitched many years ago. And this was back in the day when the only thing I knew to do with a stitched piece was to frame it. And I really didn't have a lot of frames available. I didn't have a lot of money for framing, certainly not for custom framing. And so the closest I could get to finish for fit for this piece, sorry for the glare there, was this frame, which was still just a little bit too big. And so if you can see, what I did is I taped up the glass and I painted it with gold paint. And I didn't know at that time that when you do that, you're supposed to remove the tape while the paint is still wet rather than letting it dry. And so it's kind of not the best job, but I framed it. I had it up for many years, but it was one of those things that I was never quite happy with the finishing just because of how I had to do it at the time. And so I put the frame in with my fully finishing supplies thinking I could reuse the frame someday. So I came across it again. But of course, I've learned a whole lot more about fully finishing things at this point. And so I want to also fully finish the piece in a new way. So I don't think you can see this, but the piece is actually a little bit concave in the center, like it's sunk in a little bit. And I opened up the frame the other day to kind of remind myself why. And it's like, because I mounted it on an original piece that had a hole in the center. So over time, the piece just sank in a little bit. And I was like, oh, that makes total sense. Let's see if I can get this out of here. And so all I did is I had just kind of wrapped it around there. I didn't tape it. I didn't glue it. I didn't lace it, anything. It's just literally folded around. And so the paint was kind of covering up all of the stuff that didn't quite fit in the frames. I think it also needs to be blocked. It's a little bit crooked there too. So what I think I will do is I'm going to open this piece up. I think I will actually try and block it to get it to be a little more square. And then I need to figure out what I want to do to fully finish it. Oh, it's a Bucilla kit. So there we go. It's a Bucilla needlepoint kit. So I think I have a couple of options. One is I actually know how to frame inside of a frame that is not quite the right size now. I could do a fabric finish, for example, much like this piece where you just use a piece of fabric behind to kind of fill out that extra space. So I could do that, put it back in the frame. I would not put it behind glass as it's squished down the stitches just a little bit. So I could do that and then I can hang it on the wall. I was also thinking, to me, this one is kind of calling out for a pillow finish. I think that would make a really sweet, just tiny little pillow for a bowl or a display. So that is something else I could do with it. I haven't done a pillow finish in a while. So those are the two that I am currently thinking of. If you have another suggestion, let me know. But I think it would be really great to have that piece out. And I think color wise, it definitely fits the scheme in this room that I have too. So I look forward to having that out and enjoying it in a way that I haven't quite been able to do because I just muffed up that fully finishing the last time. So that is just a little bit of a trip down memory lane for my fully finishing from many years ago. All right, I think that is all of the stitching content for today. What I also have to talk about is some book talk. So I do have some reading that I have done. When I'm traveling, I enjoy reading. I like to take the train, so it gives me a little bit of extra chance to do some reading. But I have been trying to limit my book purchases this spring, much like I'm doing with a lot of other things, because I have so many books and other things already I want to enjoy. And I have been fairly successful in that. I have been actually very successful in that. The couple of books that I have bought have been things that I think I really am interested in reading. I've either already done it or will be doing it very soon. But I did get caught in one mystery box, I have to say that. And this is something from the Literary Book Club. This is a website. It's been around for a couple of years. This is not sponsored. This is not paid. This is just something I came across, enjoyed, and wanted to tell you about. So it's this group called the Literary Book Club. And so much like many other kind of online things that you can buy right now, what you do is you buy in this case, a particular classic book, and then you get gifts that go along with it. And what I like about this one is, up until now, what they have done is they will wrap the presents and they also assign it to a particular page. So it's themed based on the book. And then when you get to that page, there is something about what's happening in the story that connects with the item that you're unwrapping. Which I feel like is kind of fun. Like it's a little more connected than some of just the like, here I'm going to give you some random stickers and book related things like a lot of these clubs do. And I will say you do get a few things that I was like, they were fairly expected. You will be surprised to know I got a candle. No. But what I liked about this one is I actually got a couple of things that I would have never expected. They were perfect for the theme of the book and what was going on, but it was a object that I would have never expected to get in this type of box, or not what you see elsewhere. So I really enjoyed that. My understanding is they are just making a change right now, so you will still get gifts, and they'll still be themed on the book, but they're not going to be assigned to a particular page. But still, anyway, so I purchased 2 of these boxes. One is the one that I was particularly buying, which was related to the Ella Montgomery book, The Blue Castle, which is my favorite book by her. I haven't opened that one yet. It's still set aside. But after I bought it, they were like, wouldn't you like to buy another one for half price? And I was like, of course I would. So the option that second box that I got was related to The Turn of the Screw by Henry James. And many of the books that come in these boxes are these Chiltern series, Chiltern Publishing, and they all have they're kind of these very small hardcovers, often very floral related, but nicely kind of bound. They've got the gold edging, and then they have the fabric or the ribbon bookmark. And I have read The Turn of the Screw before. It was a couple of years ago, and I listened to the audio version read by Richard Armitage and Emma Thompson. So good quality readers. But I realized I didn't really even remember the story. I was like, I remember it. I remember being sort of like about it, but I didn't remember anything about this. And so I thought this would be a fun opportunity to retry it. And so I got it, and it's just a tiny little book. So not a difficult, well, I was going to say it's not a difficult read, although I was reminded that Henry James loves long sentences full of commas. So you do have to kind of get into the rhythm of reading his prose. But you know, it's 150 pages versus some of his longer titles too, right? So I read this over the course of a couple of days. I opened up all of the gifts. Like I said, a couple of them were kind of that things that you expect. A couple of things I thought were really surprising and very well done. So I enjoyed it. But so I'm saving up my Blue Castle one for a little while because I happened to have just read it a few months ago. And I'm like, do I want to reread it right away or wait? I'm not sure. I have to decide. But the reason that I wanted to talk about it in particular with you is going through this process kind of reignited my interest in reading classics. I was an English major, I was a book nerd growing up, and so I've read a lot of classics, but I've also not read a lot of classics, including some that you might expect. Like I somehow have managed to not read Wuthering Heights. I've seen adaptations of it, I know things about it, but I've never actually read Wuthering Heights. Same with The Tenant of Wildfell Hall. I've never read The Master and Margarita, all of these kinds of things. And so there's all of these books that I know about. They're considered classics, but I have somehow managed to miss them. I've read the Iliad, but I've not read a complete version of the Odyssey. So going through this, I was thinking, you know what? I really want to get back on track reading the classics. And at first I thought, well, maybe I'll do some of these boxes because then you get little rewards. But I also realized there are also some classics that I'm just like, that's just not the thing that I'm going to pick up to read. Or in the world of so many books, there are some of them that I'm just not necessarily going to read, at least any time in the next several hundred books. So I don't really want to go with a preset list, and I don't really want to go with like a mystery one where things are just sent to you, because I'm like, I may have already read them. I may not be interested in reading them. So going with the, like the scratch off poster of the best 100 classics of in the world, or whatever it is, not necessarily going to work for me because I may not want to read all of those books. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm just going to make my own list, or even just start reading. And the sort of thing that I am going to reward myself with, or the thing that's going to get me interested sometimes in picking up that book, is focusing on beautiful editions, or something about the book, the edition, the copy of the book that I am picking up that appeals to me. That might be the cover, it might be the style of the printing, it might be something else about the way that the book is printed and bound and displayed that interests me in addition to the story itself. So it'll be a little bit of a treasure hunt for me of finding that edition that really speaks to me in addition to the content of the book too. So I think that'll be fun. I think it'll be a neat way to do it, and it will mean that I'm not necessarily like collecting one series of a book. Like I've realized that even though I am very attracted to certain covers and kind of ways that books are bound, I don't always, like, when I look at my shelves, I don't always want to see the same thing. Like my Shakespeare set is one edition. I have the Yale Shakespeare that I collected. Most of I bought all at once. A couple of them I had collected on the time, but they're all exactly the same blue kind of cloth binding. My Dorothy Sayers Peter Wimsey books are all the same binding. And on the one hand, you look at them and you think they're beautiful, they all look the same. But on the other hand, you look at them and go, they're all the same. I like a little more visual interest. And I think sometimes you might like a particular book from a series, but that doesn't mean you like all of the covers or all of the editions of that series. And so my books don't have to match. I want to be able to look at the individual item and appreciate it. So that's what I think I'm going to do. And so as I was thinking about this, I was looking at my little reading stack by my bedside, which is constantly growing and diminishing and growing and diminishing. But sometimes there'll be a book that like sits at the bottom that just keeps staying at the bottom. And I realized that I had one that had happened to, and that is the book, The Railway Children, a book I had never read. I somehow managed to miss this one. And I bought this one because I had come across these editions, Wordsworth editions, a few months ago. And they're also these very small cloth bound hardcovers. And they have these kind of fanciful little illustrations. And I picked up a couple of those because I really liked those for books that I've already read, but I decided to pick up a couple for books that I had not read. So I picked up The Wind in the Willows. I picked up this one by The Railway Children, maybe one or two other ones. And so I thought this will actually, apparently I was thinking about this months ago and hadn't really articulated it to myself. It's like, if you pick an edition that you like, that interests you in some way, it will encourage you to read it. So I picked it up. I got, I don't know, 2/3 of the way through it and put it down, got started reading other things and haven't finished it. So my reading goal for this month, in addition to finishing my nonfiction book of the month, I still have a little ways to go on that one, is to finish reading The Railway Children. And I think I'm going to try to do that, read one of these a month thing like I'm doing with nonfiction too. And looking at what is it about the book, the edition, that speaks to me that I am going to be enjoying in addition to the content of the book. So I don't know if that's of interest to you, if that's something that maybe helps you think about classics. Let me know. If there are classics that are your favorites that you want to know if I've read, if you think you want to tell me that I should read, please let me know, because I am definitely looking for recommendations on that front as well. Kind of from all kinds of eras and ages and all kinds of things. So if it's a kind of classic book to you that you consider a classic book and you think somebody else should read it, let me know. List it in the comments for others, and it'll be really fun to see what you all have to say about that. So, all right. I think that is our episode for the day. It was, as always, wonderful to see you. Don't forget, if you are interested in the giveaway, to leave your comment with the numeral 12, and I will see you again in a couple of weeks. Good night, everybody.